How many of you have seen recent pictures from Beijing or New Delhi where the air is so polluted you cannot see across a narrow intersection or make out a tree from a flagpole? California used to have air that rivaled these images. In fact, the term photochemical smog was coined in Los Angeles, where urban sprawl and lots of people meant lots of driving. Cars in the 1960s belched out emissions in huge quantities, and Los Angeles Basin's ever-present temperature inversion layer and ample sunshine trapped and cooked them into an ugly brown soup. But no more. In 1967, Ronald Reagan, governor of California and later President of the United States, signed the Mulford-Carroll Act that gave birth to the California Air Resource Board, or CARB. CARB has been successful in cleaning the air in California and has shown the other 49 states the way to clean air for over 50 years. By the words of Section 177 of the Federal Clean Air Act, California is the only state permitted to issue its own emission standards. Other states may choose to follow CARB or the more lenient federal standards, but they may not set their own. Not that every state needs or could even afford an agency with the prowess of CARB. It is hard to imagine why anyone would want to alter this successful arrangement. But sadly, some folks fear science, cower from the facts, ignore obvious evidence around them, and attack scientists when presented with indisputable data because it is inconvenient to their unsustainable way of life. The Trump White House wants to eliminate CARB's progressive stewardship of our 50-state air. There is a little story about how CARB became so capable, and apparently to some, so feared. Governor Reagan appointed the Dutch chemist Arie Haagen-Smit as the first chairman of CARB. Haagen-Smit knew there was a great way to motivate engineers, and it's to tell them that a task is impossible, when of course his experience told him that it was possible with great effort. Tasked with the impossible, engineers will not only make it possible, but eventually mundane. CARB's success has been in asking for the impossible, then have it come to reality. The other 49 states get to take advantage of this scientific study and engineering for practically free. Over its nearly half-century of existence, CARB's handiwork has been noticed by non-California-based entities. The Christian Science Monitor, whose stated goal is to embrace the human family, shedding light with the conviction that understanding the world's problems and possibilities moves us towards solutions, wrote in their January 2001 edition, California is leading the charge toward transportation that doesn't blanket society in foul-smelling brown haze. It was in 2018, though, that CARB drew the ire of the Trump administration with its aggressive goal to legislate zero-emission vehicles, or ZEFs. As Paul Whistler wrote in his December 2017 article for Automotive Engineering, already 9 states, Connecticut, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, Oregon, Rhode Island, Vermont are on board. ZEFs are good for our lungs, but are inconvenient to some industries, like petroleum production. The Trump administration fears that CARB will be wildly successful in making ZEFs commonplace in all 50 states. The California Air Resource Board should be allowed to set emission standards for the state of California, and the other 49 states allowed to follow suit, free of federal interference. Conceived in the Gold Rush state, founded on American ingenuity, first chaired by a Dutch immigrant, and signed into law by one of the greatest Republican presidents of our time, CARB is an all-American success story. Write your congressman and tell them you think clean air is important. Clean air is not a political issue. Tell them there are plenty of conservative and progressive issues that should be fought, but clean air is not one of them.